Brendi, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What got you into theater?
My daughter.
Your daughter? Yeah, that happens sometimes too.
Well, let me tell you, when I was a young girl, I loved performing.
Really?
I thoroughly loved performing. In my class, I was the first one to raise my hand. I wanted to play the main part.
Okay.
Sometimes I wouldn't get to the main part, but that's okay.
So what was the first show that you did?
Cinderella.
You're kidding? Really?
Cinderella.
Abbreviated version, or? Yeah.
Oh, yes. The school version.
Yes, the school version. Yeah, they usually Cinderella Junior, Annie Junior. Yeah.
And interestingly, at that age, I could remember just about anything.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a part, but the Cinderella, the little girl that played Cinderella, on the day, she got so nervous, she forgot everything, and she began crying, and my teacher didn't know what to do, and I said, I know the parts. And she's like, how could you know the parts? You had to learn your parts. I know it. I'll play her. And I
Isn't that amazing? But I find it amazing. Kids usually not only know their part, but everyone else's part. They're blocking, you're blocking.
Yes.
They know all of that. They keep you honest.
Yes, definitely.
So Cinderella, what else did you do when you were in elementary school, high school, whatever? Yeah.
In high school, I didn't perform very much. Over time, it was my elementary years where I liked performing. I performed stories from Guatemala.
Okay.
Yes, because I was born in Guatemala, and that's where I grew up. And historical things we would go over. And then when I moved to the U.S., I was 15.
Right.
I didn't really perform. I had developed into a shy individual.
Well, that happens too sometimes in high school, yeah.
And I think it was not only that transition from going from a young girl to a teenager, but also the culture. It was a completely different culture, different language. I didn't speak English. And all those things combined just...
Well, let's talk about that, because I've talked with other folks about how theater is different in different countries. In Ireland, European theater is very much issues-oriented. And they don't like the fact that we as Americans like entertainment. That's really what our theater is. In Guatemala, what is the focus of theater?
History.
Really?
History. There's so much rich history in there. The Mayans, the Spaniards, the mixtures of people, the Latinos, or Ladinos, actually. And knowing the stories of the indigenous people and performing those stories, you retain more of the information when it's being told in stories.
Yes, absolutely.
And in performances.
Yes.
And music. Music is big. And I'll tell you, in Guatemala, there are about 25 different dialects.
Wow, yes.
And also the cultures, there are many cultures within that culture.
Right.
And depending on where you live, you'll notice the indigenous people that live by the coast will wear embroidered outfits that have fish and little sailboats embroidered into their outfits. So you know where they're from.
Wow, yes.
The people that live up in the mountains, they have birds and trees, and you can also tell where they're from.
It's amazing. We always talk about, it's important for people to travel so they understand different cultures. But a lot of times we forget that there are cultures within cultures. We tend to say, because you're from a country, that it's all the same culture, and it's not. You have all these little mini cultures. Europe is a perfect example. Every region has their own wine that's special to them, right?
Yes.
Even their own type of foods. And when we went to Italy, we asked them, what do you do when you eat out in a different region? They said, we try their food, because their food is different from our food. Italian food's all one thing. No, it's not. Every region has their own thing.
Exactly.
So it's amazing. And it's a part of the richness we have as the human.
Absolutely. And I love cultures. I love different peoples. One of my favorite things to do is people watch.
Absolutely. Yes.
And I imagine what they're saying. I look at the similarities and their differences, and I'm thoroughly amazed at how different we are, even within one family.
Yes. How
we can look so different and behave so differently, even though we come from the same parents.
Right.
And it's fascinating to me.
So, what was the first show that you've done in the area?
Cinderella.
You're kidding! This is your first show ever.
My first
the first show at the
Crighton,
and the first show in the U.S.
My first show in the U.S.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, you said, let's talk about characterization. You've had this chance to observe different people. How do you use those observations to translate it to your character? Yeah.
I mimic what I believe the best performers are doing.
Yes.
Their behavior, and I absorb that, and I massage it into what my role is.
Right.
And that, I mean, the cast has been absolutely wonderful,
Mm-hmm.
very welcoming.
Yes.
It's a completely different culture.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
Than
yes.
what I'm used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learn from everybody, and I believe I'm a very good student.
Mm-hmm.
I like to listen to the director. I don't like to be distracted when the director is speaking because I want to absorb as much as possible.
Yes.
I believe it's okay to make mistakes, but if you make mistakes because you're not paying attention, then that's not.
That's a different story, yes. Well, and that's what really part of our philosophy of community theater is that it should be a learning experience, and hopefully a positive experience. They're not all positive, but hopefully it is a positive experience. And at the end of the day, we're all family. It's an extended family, and we do different things. Maybe one time you're on the stage, the next time you're behind the stage, or doing PR or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's still just a family.
Exactly.
And that's the great part about it. That's probably the greatest legacy, if we leave anything at all, is that hopefully there's an extended family that's made some wonderful friendships. That's what they carry on past the show. Sometimes they don't, but hopefully they do.
I have had the best experiences, really. I liked everybody that's on the show,
mm-hmm.
and they're very warm, very welcoming, mm-hmm. very funny.
Yes, they are.
And I think I enjoy experiences that are going to make my life richer.
Yes.
And this has definitely been contributing to that.
Yeah. Well, it's a volunteer effort, right? So if you're going to do something, what is your takeaway? Your pay is how you feel about the experience that you've had, both on stage and off stage. And hopefully the appreciation that the audience gives you,
yes.
right? And like I said, the wave of love coming your way, there's nothing like it. You get addicted to it very easily.
It's refreshing. It's rewarding. You see the folks coming out after the performance,
they're happy.
smiling,
yeah, that's right.
And great show. Even if they don't say much, just seeing their happy faces is very rewarding.
There's no better way in the season of giving than to give the gift of laughter to folks, because they need that, especially at Christmas time. It can be very stressful, and so that's why we do Christmas shows, is because people need that. It's a wonderful gift to give. You can't, how can you give a gift to 2,000 people with a gift of laughter? Awesome. Just
and
awesome.
Laughter is the best medicine.
Absolutely, best medicine. What roles, now that you've got this taste of, what other shows would you like to do?
I would like to take part in The Wizard of Oz.
Well, there'll be other ones too. I mean, Wizard of Oz. That's going to be an awesome show too. But any other, like say, musicals? Your favorite musicals, or not just musicals? What about dramas? Any things that you like to do?
I do. Right now, I'm open to any variety. I don't have anything specific.
Right.
I believe that I still need to continue to transform myself.
Sure.
I am learning that perhaps I need to take some singing lessons.
Hey, we can all use singing
lessons. I love
lessons,
singing, and I
yes.
believe that I'm wonderful when I sing by myself.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I have a critic at home that tells me, you're off tune, you're way off base, those are not the lyrics.
Well, it's interesting too that, even singing on stage or singing solo versus as a group, they're very different dynamics as well. And the nice thing about being on stage is that, yes, hopefully you have a good voice, and you can always get better. I mean, not just you personally, but all of us. But it doesn't have to be perfect. A lot of it is personality, and you can sell. I mean, we think about, say, Carol Channing. Really didn't have a very good voice, but people loved her, and because she sold her personality. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that on stage is selling it, that personality. Use what you have, but still work to be better over time. Mm-hmm. So that's good. What kind of shows do you like to see when you're off?
I'll tell you, I had an experience in San Francisco. I went to see The Phantom of the Opera.
Yes.
Oh. The environment was fantastic. The performance was outstanding. Mm-hmm. I had such admiration for the cast.
Right.
And I envisioned myself doing something similar.
All right.
It's definitely way out there, but hey, why not?
No, why not? No, we go on vacation. That's what we like to do. We like to go see shows, and you get to see what other people do. Not just professional, but community theater as well. What do they do, and how do they deal with their stage and their limitations, the talent that they have?
Right.
But at the end of the day, just to support them. You don't necessarily be a critic or anything like that. Although we certainly think, how would I do this differently? But no, just to appreciate them.
I will tell you that I have a deeper appreciation of the cast members and of everybody that performs, because it's so much easier to critique.
Oh, absolutely.
When you're not in their shoes.
That's right. When you're in their shoes, then you think, why did they forget that line? Or why? And until you sit there and you go, Oh, it's different.
That's the magic of performing live.
Yes, it is. Anything can happen.
Exactly.
Anywhere.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And as a performer, and as an artist,
right,
you have that freedom to be able to change things slightly.
Yes.
And still be able to come back to the main focus of the role.
Right.
And I think that's fantastic. When you watch television, that's already taken, done, looks perfect. Mm-hmm. In real life, I think that many of us have lost that appreciation, and I think we need to bring it back. Mm-hmm. And I think that having children involved is absolutely wonderful.
It's a wonderful family experience too. That's what we started doing it as family, and it was a show we didn't even want to do. Weren't interested in the show, but we did it as family. Me, my whole family, my son, my wife, myself. In some cases, my dog, and it's a wonderful experience as family. It really is. You don't have enough times where you as family can come together, especially in this society where everything's so fast. Right. Everybody's on their iPod or whatever and going their separate ways. But to do things as family, it's just wonderful.
It is. It creates a greater bond, a greater connection, and I think that we should continue that tradition.
Many places, right? That's the neat thing about the Greater Houston area. There's so many places to do.
There are, and that is something that I need to look into, what's available and what my schedule looks like. And, the wonderful thing about Stage Right, they've been absolutely wonderful with and flexible about my schedule. Mm-hmm. I travel often.
Oh, really? Okay,
and I was able to integrate, this performance into my life, and even after I had taken a few days off.
Right. So let's talk about what do you do in real life?
I'll tell you, I am a scientist.
Okay, doing?
And I work developing products, and up until this year, I had worked as a scientist in biotech and consumer products, goods, and now I have gone into technical sales.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, selling the products, many of the products that I developed.
Yes.
So I know them by heart.
Right.
And my role is to take disinfecting products into the healthcare setting. My territory includes Texas, the Houston area, the greater Houston area, and Louisiana.
Okay.
And can you imagine
so you travel
many medical
a lot.
Facilities
a lot of medical facilities. It sounds like you'd be traveling a lot on the road. A lot of driving?
A lot of driving, a lot of flying.
Wow, yes.
Yes, and this past week I was down in Webster.
Okay.
Practically every day.
Yeah, it's a good haul.
Yes.
I know that we've talked to people that live in the Woodlands, and they had a gig in Galveston, meaning acting. And I said, how did you do that every day? He says, I don't want to talk about it.
I think it has to do with passion.
Absolutely.
What do you have passion for?
Absolutely.
It's not something that's taxing too much when you enjoy doing it.
Right.
And the same with performing.
Yeah. Well, there's a payoff. Absolutely. It's hard work. People think, it's easy. It's hard work.
Yes. For me, when I go into a hospital facility and I introduce a product that I know is effective,
right,
and they use it,
right,
I feel great.
Very rewarding.
Very rewarding.
Yes.
Because I know that is going to help people.
Yes.
I worked in healthcare for 15 years before I went to become a chemist.
Right.
And I understand everything that it takes to make a person better.
Right.
And it is very rewarding. And I do fly all over the place, Louisiana. I go to Baton Rouge. I go to, so many places. I can't even, they're not even popping into the files in my head.
We just talk about after a while when you travel places that the food starts to taste the same, the hotels are all the same, the people are the same. You know what I'm talking about. And you just want to be home. I want home good food. I want to sleep in my own bed. Even on expense, it doesn't matter. It's just I'm ready to go home. Yes. It's a good experience, especially when you're younger. You start, I've been there, done that.
I go through withdrawals every time. It never fails.
Right.
Whether it's a short distance or a long distance, I go through withdrawals. Being with my family.
Sure.
But I like to keep positive and think I will see them in 2 days.
Right.
Yes, 2 days is only 48 hours.
Right.
And we talk on the phone. I call them when I get there. I call them when I'm on my way back. So we maintain that communication. Yes.
It's interesting. Well, the question of the day, if heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
if I was to put it all together in one sentence or even one phrase, I would expect him to say, I am proud of you. I gave you certain talents, and even though you stumbled, you made good use of them.
Oh, by the way, we have a role for you in this play we're doing. We're short of singers.
Hey, I'm open.
Thanks so much for joining us, Brendi.
Thank you so much.
Good.